of all, let's address the elephant in the room. Democratic policies are trash, and they improve. Nobody's lives are improved by these policies. Let's go ahead and start off on our political segment. And we need to talk about Mayor Eric Adams. Now, I am from New York City, right? So I feel, right, like I have license to kind of go in and say what I want to say about New York City, because that is my hometown. Okay, I grew up under Mayor Koch, and then David Dinkins, and then Mayor Giuliani, and then whoever was the mayor when I was a baby, I don't remember. But that's my mayoral history of New York City. And so because this is my hometown, I know a little bit about the way that city works. And I am struggling for the life of me to understand how they are going to actually recover from just how bad things have really gotten. Right now, New York City is dealing with a $4 billion with the B, right? A $4 billion budget cut that they are, at this point, the jury is still out on specifically how that budget's going to be cut. But if y'all think New York City has rats now, listen, if you ain't never been chased by a New York City rat, you haven't really lived, right? Like I have stories of on the way to school in the morning, you had to synchronize when you were going to go and run. Because in our apartment building, the dumpster was like in the back, and you would walk through the basketball court and you had to pass the dumpster to like get to the street. And honey, when I tell you the trauma that I lived through as a 9-year-old fourth grader, terrified because the rats are just that big. Like if you ain't never had a rat run across your brand new Reebok 5411s, I don't want to hear about your struggle, because your struggle is not my struggle. But that's what I grew up with. So if y'all think New York City got rats now, let me go ahead and share with you guys what New York City is dealing with in terms of these budget cuts and why the city is saying they need to be done. So take a listen.
To plug a whopping $7 billion deficit.
The big question, will he have to make even more cuts to public safety and sanitation? We have the question for CBS 2's political reporter Marsha Kramer. Do you have the answer, Marsha?
Well, Dick and Dana, Mayor Adams could find himself singing the budget blues, the NYPD blues, yet again, if the state and federal governments don't cough up another more do-re-mi for the migrant crisis. He originally said that the police, fire, and sanitation departments could skip the next round of cuts, but today he said, well, now I just don't know.
If we have to, we're going to have to go into them as well.
Mayor Adams with a blunt assessment on whether the budgets of the NYPD, the FDNY, and the sanitation departments could avoid the Budget Acts, the next round of 5% that would go into effect in January. This letter to commissioners ordering a new round of belt-tightening originally said, quote, NYPD, FDNY, and DSNY are exempted out of concern that additional budget cuts at this time could impact public safety, health, and cleanliness. That was a reference to the fact that the first round of cuts canceled the next 5 police academy classes, reduced the NYPD headcount to 29,000, the lowest level since the 1990s, reduced manning on 20 FDNY engine companies, and hit the sanitation department with many cuts, including fewer litter baskets on the street. The mayor is putting off his decision on cutting those agencies until he sees what the other commissioners come up with.
Based on the numbers that come in our analysis of everything is on the table. You know, we want to be clear on that. Everything is on the table.
The city is facing a $7 billion gap, due in part to the fact that Washington has ignored the mayor's pleas for more help to cope with the tens of thousands of migrants who have arrived in the city needing shelter. The city is also facing a second shortfall. Federal aid to New York City to cope with the pandemic has ended. Both things put the man who got elected on a promise to keep the streets safe in a very difficult position.
We don't want to do anything that's going to endanger public safety. That's the foundation that the city is built on. But if need be, they will have to be included in the next round also if we can't get to the numbers that we want. Because by law, we have to balance the budget.
Now, the agencies have until December 8th to submit their belt-tightening ideas. The City Council has scheduled hearings next week on the first round of cuts. Dick and Dana, and we'll have to see whether they can do anything about the first round of cuts before we get to the second round.
A lot of people affected. Marcia, thank you.
Thank you, Marcia.
All right, so there you guys have it. Basically, New York City has announced, actually, it's probably like around 2 weeks ago, that they would need to cut about $5 billion from their budget. And I saw in the chat, Alton, you're right, Cardi was mad, right? Like, she was hot about it. You guys may have seen Cardi B ranting about this and how, upset she was over it. Mind you, this is the same rocket scientist who hosted President-elect Joe Biden during the 2020 campaign and was interviewing him and was just all starry-eyed and excited about riding with Biden. Like, listen, they always say that the best way to red pill a person is to give them what they want. And at this point, I am inclined to agree with that. So the first thing we need to do, how did we get here? First of all, let's address the elephant in the room. Y'all know me. I've never shied away from my criticism for Democrats. Democratic policies are trash and they improve. Nobody's lives are improved by these policies. Now, Democrats, they always claim to be the party of the people, but their policies never improve the lives of the people. It literally just makes everything worse. They do not handle your money responsibly. Nothing improves under their leadership. You just end up poorer, less safe, and less free. Now, keep in mind, I have smoke for rhinos too. I don't like quote unquote Republicans who claim to be conservative, but they just want to make it rain and spend your money too. They get smoked too. However, from a policy perspective, Democratic policies they are trash. And I wish that growing up, I had known that. I was ignorant. I did not know. And so, I was just like, yes, I'm a Democrat. Everybody in my family's a Democrat. Grandmama a Democrat. Mom and them Democrat. Like, everybody was a Democrat. So you just went along with it because they're for the people. It couldn't be completely further from the truth. New York City is in this predicament because they make unrealistic promises that they never intended to keep. They weren't even in a position to keep. What do I mean by that? New York City's sanctuary city status. That's something that they've always bragged about. Mind you, this is my city, so let me bring the smoke where it needs to be. New York City's always been a sanctuary city. I remember growing up, I could not understand. I was like, okay, I'm in this dollar cab. I know this dude don't have a driver's license. Why is he just allowed to operate this little side business with no driver's license? He's probably here illegally because what will happen if there's an accident? Pablo he take off running, right? Pablo, he in the wind. And you like, whoa, wait a minute. You trying to exchange insurance? No, Pablo gone because Pablo know I'm here illegally and I don't feel like just dealing with, but that is the culture. Everybody has always known New York City has just been home of illegal immigrants. And I'm going to make a distinction between immigrants and then illegal aliens, because there's a difference and Democrats want to make sure that you don't know the difference. But New York City has always bragged about their sanctuary city status. But it was fine as long as the border states had to deal with the porous border, right? Like, so as the moment that, the border states are like, yeah, we full, like, here y'all go. Here are some migrants. Now, all of a sudden, it's a problem. First of all, my question has always been, why won't New York City change their sanctuary city status? Right? Like, why not just let the people decide, put it on the ballot that they no longer wish to be a sanctuary city? That way, they don't have to worry about receiving any more migrants. Second of all, close the daggone border. That's what this is all about. Now, see, Eric Adams found out that fat meat was greasy because now that he is in this crisis and they've spent all this money trying to house these people, he messed up and bit the hand that feeds him. he, a couple of weeks ago, it may have been a month ago, started criticizing President Joe Biden about the border being open. And he complained about how, this is too much. In New York City, this is unsustainable. We can't keep going like this. Like, this will destroy New York City. And he was right. But what he shouldn't have did, see, the way Democrats run, you don't get to bite the hand that feeds you. Like, you're supposed to stay on code, Eric, and you're supposed to echo what the federal government says. That's what you're supposed to do, but he didn't do that. So you know what happened? All of a sudden, Eric Adams is under investigation. His chief, I think it's his chief of staff, correct me if it's not his chief of staff, she was raided, and all of a sudden there's these assault allegations, and they're raiding his home. Like, they sent the federales to Eric Adams because he was talking too much. He was trying to let y'all know, like, listen, I'm just abiding by the law. The city is a sanctuary city. I'm just maintaining the status quo here. However, they need to close the daggone border. He wasn't supposed to say that. He was supposed to echo what Brandon Johnson says in Chicago and not even mention the problem or the fact that the origin of this issue starts at the border. Eric messed up and started complaining, saying the federal government won't help me. They won't give me no more money to house these people. But Joe Biden looking at him like, no speaking no English, papi. I don't say, like, I don't know. Like, that's what you're dealing with this silent feud between the federal government and New York State. The governor, she's like, I'm going to see what I can do. I don't know. I'm going to try, but she's just blowing smoke up his behind. But I want to read something from this article. It's a New York Times article. And this article, you guys, is from April the 10th, right? Oh, hold on. This darn ad done popped up. It says, no one is above the law, but is the slogan applied as universally as it's uttered? Or are the words selectively aimed at ideological opponents on an as-needed basis? No need to look further than our immigration chaos to understand that, in fact, millions of people have had the privilege of being placed above the law. As our southern border has become a highway to havens, state and local authorities have chosen to ignore the immigration violations of our newest arrivals. We designated our city a sanctuary out of compassion. Okay, we are historically a city of immigrants, and we empathize with the new arrivals. But our compassion is being tested by unprecedented numbers of newcomers, accompanied by unparalleled costs and leaders call unsustainable. Before New York crumbles under the weight of endless immigration, we need to end our sanctuary city policies. So this article is an opinion piece written by Peter Reinhardt and Andrew Stein, and they wrote this back in April, and I'm with them. I agree. It's interesting though. 142,000 at the time of this publication. They indicated there were 142,000 asylum seekers. I want you guys to listen to their language. So you're telling me that all of these people are seeking asylum? Like, what is the definition of asylum? On what basis do we know this? I'm of the opinion that asylum seekers and illegal immigrants, they're not the same thing. If you crossed the border illegally, you are an illegal alien. Like, you broke the law. And I understand that there are individuals who desire to leave their country of origin because they recognize that this is America. And America is 500% better than the country of their birth. I get it. I'd be scratching through the fence too to get here if I was from there. But you have to come the right way. And when you don't come the right way and you break the law, we have to deal with you as a lawbreaker. I have friends who are immigrants. One of my besties just received her citizenship status or her naturalization status a couple of months ago. I posted about it. My grandparents were immigrants. Like, they literally came here on a boat, but they came here legally. Here's the truth. This is not a crisis. In my opinion, this is not a crisis. This is a manufactured power grab that has just gotten out of control, and everybody's pointing a finger at everybody else to trying to figure out who can we blame so that we can minimize the level of consternation and festivity, that's not a word, that the residents, whether it's in New York or Chicago or anywhere, are feeling. What do I mean by that? President Biden refuses to close the border because he needs new voters to replace the blacks, and they need a new labor force. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to be funny, but the rumors are true that there certain people of highly melanated persuasion, not immigrants from Africa or from somewhere else, no, the ones that are born here, they don't want to work. Okay? And I can say that as a small business owner that's had to hire plenty of my people. It's different. The work ethic is different. We don't want to work. So the federal government is like, well, wait a minute. They want to work. They will work, and they're skilled. They are skilled and they will work. So they sent out the smoke signal telling migrants to come. Do y'all remember that? Y'all remember doing the campaign when Kamala, the borders was just, come on in, right? Just come on in. Meemaw gonna take good care of you. They had no plan to house or care for these people. No, that's not true. They did have a plan. The plan was to use your money to clothe and feed and provide shelter and healthcare and all of these government services. That was the plan, because they're doing it. But these people have not been vetted. We don't know who they are, and we have no way of keeping track of them, or with no way of keeping track. But here's the thing. Because you don't know who they are, and you don't have a way to keep track of them, what is that going to lead to? That's going to lead to higher crime, which we're already experiencing, more overcrowded schools, which New York City was already dealing with that problem, more sanitation burdens, right? And an overburdened healthcare system. $47 million alone is being cut from the school system. Right? Now, I don't know about y'all. My New Yorkers in there in the house. When I was growing up in New York, like 32 to 35 kids to a class, that was normal. That's a lot of students in one classroom. Who knows how many students are in the classrooms now? But $47 million was getting cut from the school system. And that includes their pre-K. And I didn't even know they had like a pre-K 3. Like, why are 3-year-olds? That's a whole nother conversation for a different day. Ain't no way I'm putting my kid in. No, it's not going to happen. But anyway, politicians, particularly Democrats, and definitely rhinos. Rhinos are Republicans in name only. These people are they're incapable of telling the truth. And what is the truth? We simply cannot allow millions of unknown individuals to pour into our country without a plan. Like, there was no plan. No one had figured out how all of this was going to work. They just wanted to be benevolent, right? With their faux virtue signaling, and like, yes, because we love everybody and everyone should come to America because this is the land of opportunity. A nation must have borders for the safety of its inhabitants. That would be you and I. Like, I live here. You need to have borders. You can't just roll up on the property here and lights, a little chick, like, I'm looking at the cameras like, who sent you? I don't know you. You can't just walk up in here talking about, well, I just need a place to stay. Can I stay in the couch in the podcast studio? No. I don't know you. I have children. My mama's here. Like, we don't treat our homes this way, but we're treating our southern border as if it is somehow uncharitable to keep the people in your border safe and to keep inhabitants who don't mean you well or you don't know who they are to keep them out. At the end of the day, this whole social experiment with New York City and the buses and them just saying, well, we're sanctuary city, so we got it. This is a social experiment to demonstrate that socialism doesn't work. And all it does is lead to poverty and death and destruction. Because what happens when these people don't start getting what they want or get what they were promised? They're going to start knocking Meemaw over the head. Listen, they're going to do what most depraved people do. They're going to get it by any means necessary. And then that's going to lead to poverty because the services that were allotted for the taxpayers, you don't get those services anymore. The city is just going down the tubes, and it's going to be an absolute mess. New York City is trying to run a socialistic town, and now they're finding out that such a system doesn't work. You cannot give or promise to take care of people indefinitely without suffering catastrophic loss and problems. I want you guys to listen to this quote again. The quote was, I want to say it was Mayor Eric Adams who said this. He said, where did it go? We designated our city a sanctuary out of compassion. We are historically a city of immigrants, and we empathize with many of the new arrivals. But our compassion is being tested by unprecedented numbers of newcomers, accompanied by unparalleled costs our leaders call unsustainable. Actually, no, that's not a quote from Eric Adams. That is a direct quote from the author of this article. My apologies. Let's scratch that from the record and let me correct that. That was not a quote from Eric Adams. That was a direct quote from the article. Here's the problem. These people are not legal immigrants that you planned for their arrival. These people crossed the border illegally and were enticed to do so by our federal government, breaking existing immigration laws, acting like there is no border. They just broke the law. Since when do we demonstrate compassion for lawbreakers? Oh, I know, since we got all these liberal judges and prosecutors that don't want to prosecute the law because they think it's mean and unjust to, prosecute a person who's committing a violent crime. Like, we're living in a clown world. But when I ask the question, since when do we demonstrate compassion for lawbreakers? What they want to do is they want to pull on your heartstrings to get you to co-sign their wickedness. What they do is they hijack words and they hijack language to try to make you feel like, oh, this is just unjust to tell people not to come, when the message is you are free to come, but you need to go through the process and allow us to temper the rate and the amount of people that come in so that we're adequately prepared. That's what this is all about, you guys. This is not about, oh, you're just being an American elitist and you don't want anybody else. It's just us four and no more. No, that's not true. I've got friends who are immigrants. Family are immigrants. That is not the issue. The issue is you can't just let that many people come in at one time. It's like a spigot. You just can't turn it on and be like, oh, well, the water's flowing. You got to drip that. There needs to have some level of organization or structure to this discussion that no one wants to have. But here's something interesting. Governor Andrew Cuomo, in August of 2018, back when he was doing his re-election campaign, you know what he declared? He was like, New York State is the state that we will not cooperate with ICE, right? Like he goes, they're a bunch of thugs. He calls ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, he called them thugs. I was just like, okay, like how is this working out for us? I have another fun fact for you. According to this article, as of April of 2023, the New York Post reported that the 30,000, this is back in April, the 30,000 illegal migrants that were housed in hotels, shelters, and other facilities, do you know how much that was costing the city? Somebody guess. Just throw me out a number. How much do you think that was costing the city per day? I'll tell you. $5 million per day. 5 mil. Like, I can't even wrap my mind around $5 million a day for the hotels, the shelters, all of the city services, and $5 million. The Biden administration, they're not enforcing immigration law as they should. And so if anyone is interested in wanting to know why would a country like the United States all of a sudden just decide to start letting random people come in without distinction? Why would they do that? I'm arguing they want to destroy this country. They want the fentanyl to come in. They want that. Absolutely. They want y'all high and drunk as Cuda. Like, they want you so out your mind that they can, it's an overpopulation issue anyway. Just kill off the undesirables, right? They want sex trafficking to continue. They want that. Why else would they suppress? When movies like Sound of Freedom came out, all of a sudden it's like, oh, we can't have such a film be shown. These people are evil. They want that stuff. Do you know what kind of crime New York City has been dealing with even before this migrant situation, just during the pandemic? I remember I was on the phone with my sister, and I can't remember where she said she was at the time. We were literally on the phone, and she was like, oh my gosh, oh my goodness. I was like, what's wrong? She was like, there is a man sitting here just in front of a retail store, and he's, how can I say this in their sensitive ears? Let's just say he was pleasuring himself to the end in broad daylight. Like, she's on the phone like, oh my gosh, like, and he's just sitting there. He's just sitting there, and not a police officer anyway. She was like, okay. She was like, you know what? This is an everyday occurrence. She was like, the crime on the subway, it's just ridiculous. The homeless situation was already out of control. It was a nightmare. What kind of city government provides sanctuary to its newest arrivals as it endangers the safety of its citizens that actually pay taxes? I'll tell you the kind. A corrupt city government. That's the kind. One that wants to place the blame instead of just stepping up and in true leadership fashion, just do what's best for the people. And what's best for the people is like, we can no longer, we did our part. We participated. We gave it the office. We can no longer be a sanctuary city. Like, we just have to own up to the fact that having a strong border, it's just good for the nation. And while we had our sanctuary city status, it was wonderful. And we've done all that we can do now. And we just need to figure out how to manage what we already have. But we can't take any more migrants, because that's what the red states have been crying and complaining about for years. And nobody was listening to them. It all of a sudden didn't become a problem until you got your share of illegal immigrants, right? Like, our city and state offer blanket sanctuary to illegal entrants without any acknowledgement about who they may be and who's arriving and what they plan on doing here. That's basically what this article says. Like, that's crazy to me. That is absolutely insane. I know I saw a few of my New Yorkers, New York City, Buffalo. Listen, it's only a matter of time before y'all catch it. I'm pretty sure you're going to feel the punch too. But somebody said we all need to gather in red states so we can at least have state laws and governors to protect us from the feds. Listen, I'm not opposed to that. Like, I live in a purplish state. Like, Georgia is red technically, but we had some close calls. With Stacey Big Mama Abrams. She almost got in. And we Father in the name. It would have been a disaster. Our state would not have a surplus right now if she had gotten elected to office. So it's bad. But I didn't really have much else to say about that other than the fact that Mayor Adams is finding out that fat meat is greasy. I don't know if y'all, it's a separate issue, but I believe they are related. The federales raiding him, and now all of a sudden, the sexual assault. Like, the Democrats will decide, like, if you don't play by their rules and you don't stay on code, we will make you comply, right? Why do you think it's so many elected officials that won't just come out and be like, listen, Biden is too old. We don't know who the heck is running the country. They won't tell us, but we're going to run somebody else. They can't come out and say that. It will be very bad for them. They will make your life miserable, just like they're making Eric Adams. He should have just stayed on code and figured out another way to communicate his issues with the fact that he wasn't getting the support he needed. Because I'm glad he said something. I'm glad he spoke up, but he paid a price. He paid a price because now they're coming after him personally. And I'm interested to see if he's going to get reelected. I've always said that Rudy Giuliani was the best mayor New York City ever had, hands down. When I say that city was clean, he cleaned up 42nd Street. Like, you didn't have to worry about seeing prostitutes no more. It was just, like, you could actually go into the city and enjoy the city. It was clean. Having 29,000 police in the 5 boroughs. Do y'all know how big New York City is? I can't imagine having that small of a police force. 29,000? Normally, New York is like 40, 45,000 police officers on the force. And to dwindle down to 29,000, whoever they didn't fire because of the stupid COVID mandates, they lost a lot of people there, infringing upon your freedom and bodily autonomy. We can have a conversation about that at another time. But now, due to the environment of policing, where your whole life can just get ripped from you, just you doing your job, all because somebody be like, oh, he was racist. I heard him say the N-word. Like, I'm not signing up for that. I'm just not. I'm not going to sign up for that.